Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with
Nerdarchy's Ted.
Today we asked the question, when is a vampire not a vampire?
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter. Get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So Bell had sent us an email, GM911, and basically he has a problem. He's introduced something into his game, maybe, and it might be too much for his players to deal with. Now, the gist is they've defeated one of his lesser villains that is working for a vampire. And instead of moving on like he anticipated, they set up shop and decided to run the tavern.
Right.
Problem is that this is where the vampire draws his food source from. We have no idea what's going to happen next.
So the party's third, fourth level. They're not ready to handle with a vampire. Now, we don't know the full story. We'll try to put Abel's email down in the description so you can read the full lot there.
And if you have your own GM911s or viewer suggestions, you can send them to nerdarchy@gmail.com.
Right. Now, the first question is, do the players know that it's actually a vampire? Through investigation or interrogation of the underling that's been defeated, have they gleaned any information? Now, if they haven't, then in no way, shape, or form does this have to be a vampire, or does there have to be anything else? If there's no investigation, no interrogation, and they think this guy is the one who is responsible, he's dealt with, problem solved, and end of story. The party can move on and do whatever.
If you want it to be.
If you want it to be.
Now, if you're telling me that the problem is that there's a vampire and it's too tough, and the players don't know about it, well, I don't know, change your story maybe?
So here's where you can enter into, a more Scooby-Doo-esque kind of thing. All right, there's a person that this guy was working for, and maybe he's, a little dark, little creepy, access to a little bit of magic.
He's so goth!
And he wants to look like or be a vampire. Maybe that's an aspiration of his, but he's not really a vampire. He's just a low-level wizard who uses illusions and trickery. Heck, maybe he's actually a gnome, and he's projecting his image of this vampire, and the guy's only ever been really talking to an illusion. So, you could completely go in that direction. It could be anything from, a 2-bit wizard to something that resembles a vampire, but without all of the gusto. It's whatever. It's really up to you as the DM. You have the full control over this power, over this story. And if you want it to be a vampire, it's a vampire. But if the players have no clue it's a vampire, then it doesn't have to be. So that's number one. Number two, all right, it's a vampire. Well, vampires are known to be haughty, and they're not going to go tangle with these little pesky humans. Let the next underling go deal with it. And then you gotta kind of have to work your way up the ranks before you actually get to the vampire.
It could be literally another 2-3 underlings before he really feels the need to get directly involved. So I guess the idea is this tavern was a source of food for him. But he may have multiple taverns spread out over multiple cities where he's having people trafficked into them.
Right. So another possible thing is, well, perhaps this is the vampire is a coward. He doesn't go do the work because that's not what he wants to do. He gets other people to do the work for him. And when somebody steals his stuff, all right, well, he's going to go hightail it out of there and, get a new food source where someone isn't willing to fight for it. And there's always going to be, in a fantasy setting, places where this is possible. And either the players can then go on a quest and try and stop this guy on whatever way you want to do it, or it's done and it's over with.
It could literally be like the villain in Kingsman, where he's just is kind of squeamish, abhors violence, even though he plans on killing most of the planet. It's just he doesn't want to directly be involved with it or see it.
Right.
He's fine with it happening, just he doesn't want to be there when it does.
So now the other flip side of this is it's a truly and terrifying vampire, and he's out for blood. vengeance. He wants,
Kill all the players.
exactly. These guys, they've taken what he considers his, and he comes in and he scares them off. He runs them out of town, and it's a chase. They have to then flee for their lives. Make it obvious that this thing is so far beyond their abilities that they can't tangle with it. Like, literally, give it. They don't have magic items yet. If they're this low level, they could run up and the fighter hit it with his sword, and he just laughs because it doesn't do any damage. It doesn't even cut the guy's skin. All right, great. This shows the power, and perhaps he knocks a couple of them out and allows them to scurry on with their lives as he stands there mocking them. He doesn't even have to make an action every round. Vampires are haughty. They believe they're immortal. They believe they're all powerful. So here's a situation where you can literally allow them to just drain themselves and see that what they can do doesn't do anything to this guy, and it becomes a story that they lived through a vampire fight at this low level, and they're run out of town. This guy gets his food source back, and the players then have this. All right, well, here's a subplot that we have, or this is a plot that we have to get back to because we don't like this. So then they go off on another story arc, the whole while knowing that at some point in time we have to come back and deal with this when we're ready, when we think we can do it.
Yeah, you could do something like that. You can invite them to, they can get a dinner invitation to the vampires, to the vampire's castle, where they go, they sit down, they have a meal with him. He throws a ball. He shows them how insignificant they are to him. He's not afraid to have them in his home, and even maybe he makes it clear that yes, I'm going to destroy you guys, but I'm going to take my time with it and make sure you truly suffer. Maybe at the end of the dinner, they each get an envelope, and that envelope is the names of everyone they care about. And maybe one of the names is already crossed off. Who knows? You can really have fun with this. So really, it just comes down to, okay, is there really a vampire and your players know about it? Is there a vampire your players think they know about? Just because they think it's a vampire, it does not have to really be one until it's absolutely confirmed. Or, it could completely be something else. The players could get hunted down. The players could be kind of mentally and emotionally traumatized and tormented for a while. Yeah, in the meantime, they have to figure out how they're going to deal with this. You could do the chain of lesser villains that you're going to have to deal with until you work your way up to the vampire that you've annoyed him so much that he personally feels the need to get involved. So there is probably so many different things I hadn't even thought of.
So you could bring in an NPC who totally off camera, you story, you narrate it. All right, Van Helsing comes in, deals with the vampire, and you now have the ability to, all right, players have to deal with the mop-up. They have to deal with the carnage and deal with the things that are threats to them and to the town, but the major problem has been solved. Or you could have something that tangles with the vampire, defeats it, and now there's another problem that the players have to deal with. You can go in so many different directions that it's crazy. You just have to pick the story that you think your players are going to enjoy the most. So go through the list of stuff, look at what draws your players at your table to the game, not the character goals, not the characters' designs, but what the players at your table really enjoy doing, and pick that design. If they're really into the role-playing aspect of stuff, go with the ball that Dave says. You get a party aspect. You get the maybe make a couple will saves versus fear, or wisdom saves versus fear, and go down that road. It could be awesome. If you want to do a dungeon crawl, then all right, turn the vampire into not a vampire, have lesser minions and all these things set up. They get to the thing, it looks like a vampire. You find out it's just the man behind the curtain. Shocker.
Or you could do the NPC thing where he gets destroyed somewhere else, possibly, and now the castle is still there, full of creepiness, and they can go in and clear out the castle.
So all these different options, find out what you think is going to be fun for you as the DM. It's going to be fun for your players. If you guys out there, if you have any other suggestions for a bell, there's a great place to do that. That's down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can patronize us in a good way over at Patreon.
So until next time, stay nerdy. Then in no way, shape, or form does this have to be a vampire, or does there have to be anything else? If there's no investigation, no interrogation, and they think this guy is the one who is responsible, he's dealt with, problem solved, and end of story. The party can move on and do whatever.
Basically, he has a problem. He's introduced something into his game, maybe, and it might be too much for his players to deal with. Now, the gist is they've defeated one of his lesser villains that is working for a vampire. And instead of moving on like he anticipated, they set up shop and decided to run the tavern.
Right.
Problem is that this is where the vampire draws his food source from. We have no idea what's going to happen next.
So the party's third, fourth level. They're not ready to handle with a vampire. Now, we don't know the full story. We'll try to put Abel's email down in the description so you can read the full lot there.
And if you have your own... Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with...
Nerdarchy's Ted.
Today we asked the question, when is a vampire not a vampire?
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter. Get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So Abel had sent us an email, GM911, and based on GM911s or viewer suggestions, you can send them to nerdarchy@gmail.com.
Right. Now, the first question is, do the players know that it's actually a vampire? Through investigation or interrogation of the underling that's been defeated, have they gleaned any information? Now, if they haven't,